Well, welcome to this very first podcast of Authentic Networking. That's Peter Kelly right there, and I'm Bruce Harrott. I help small business owners land more of the right clients. What do you do, Peter?
I make videos for small and medium-sized businesses. Sometimes website content, sometimes social media, sometimes training videos.
And you help them grow their businesses, apparently.
Absolutely.
By doing that. Today we're going to talk to you about video and the place of video in your business as a marketing tool. We'll give you some tips and talk to you about its place online and your online communications. First, I did want to say that this is part of an effort that Peter has initiated called Authentic Networking, part of a chain of authentic networking groups around the world. And I have joined that group, and we're going to be doing some work together. So we'll tell you a bit more about that, so that you can be at the next events that are coming up in February. And that's about it. You ready to begin?
Absolutely. Let's get going.
All right. So, Peter, you've been involved in video for a number of years, working for small businesses on the inside, and then a few years ago you went out on your own freelance again, and now you're serving mainly what kind of clients? And small business, for the most part.
Yeah, that's the ideal client. The one I really like is the small business owner, where I'm actually dealing with the person who's founded the company and putting a face to that company.
Right. Okay. And I guess also from your standpoint, you get decisions more quickly than working with large corporations where there's a myriad of things get in the way, like committees and subcommittees and all that. So I'm the same. I work with small business owners, and it's really nice when a decision needs to be made. It can be made in the moment usually, or overnight. So tell me, first of all, tell me a bit about what is the place of video in online marketing? Where does it stand?
Video, I want to say I'm biased. I'll be the first to admit it because I do this for a living, but video has become like the biggest marketing tool. And there's a couple different reasons for that. And the single biggest thing is the ease of video online. You can make a video as simple as what we're doing here and get distribution very easily. So ease of entry to your market it's just opened up. The other really compelling thing is that you get to, again, put the face to the company. So rather than having a print article or, all text, you're actually getting to see and hear somebody. And short of meeting somebody in person, this is the best way to get to know them. Obviously, the in-person stuff is the best way to meet somebody, but video lets them hear you. They let them see your mannerisms. They get a feel for what you're actually like. And that goes a long way with connecting with potential clients.
And I guess when you talk about ease of entry, there's also a low cost of entry. So what we're doing today actually has zero cost because we're using a platform that's readily available. We're taking up a little bit of our time, but I guess the thing is, the only cost really would be someone who couldn't edit their own piece. So they may have to get someone to help them edit. Would that be true? Or can you just put something out there without editing it?
Yeah, again, it depends on where you're at. When you're starting out, I totally appreciate budgets can be tight. So just shooting a talking head video with a webcam is perfectly fine. It's just a matter of structuring that properly. And we can get into that. But the talking head video, when I was working in TV, that was something that was really discouraged. You didn't want just one person talking for an extended period of time.
I remember.
But online, that's perfectly acceptable. Once the YouTubers became a thing, just somebody talking and sharing their expertise, there is an audience for that. Obviously, as you grow and as you expand, things can get more complicated. And like what I do is I make videos that are very visually dynamic. So we're always putting in B-roll. So there is stuff happening on screen.
What's B-roll for our listeners who don't know?
B-roll would be other visuals. So like in this case, if I were to start talking about birds, then you would see footage of birds on camera. So just kind of varying up what's being shown. Usually it supplements what you're hearing. So it resonates a little better with a viewer.
Can you give us, sorry to interrupt, but can you give us a bit of a context on the video power on the internet? I'm thinking of YouTube, Vine, TikTok. It's massive, right? Have you done any research on that in terms of what the average person who goes to their, it's the phone, not their laptop anymore, right? When they go to their phone to check in on some information, where do they go first?
Well, Twitter is the go-to place for like news and information. People
Mm-hmm.
aren't going to news outlets first; they're going to Twitter, and then from Twitter, they're then hunting out new, reliable news sources or established news sources to confirm.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of video, YouTube obviously is the king of where video is hosted. It's
Mm-hmm.
also the number 2 search engine. Google's number 1, YouTube's number 2.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's a place to really find out about anything.
Do you like to put your clients on YouTube then when they have videos?
Absolutely. Especially again, the cost of entry. Like my last customer, I did 2 videos specifically for his website.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, okay, we'll make these for your website. Absolutely. He was delighted with them, but let's make a version to put on YouTube, because on YouTube, somebody could potentially randomly find you. That version was effectively the same as we put on his website, but we changed the call to action, directing them specifically to go to his website. And the time and energy and cost of putting it on YouTube is minimal. Like you're talking about a few minutes to set up, literally 5 minutes to set up an account, and maybe 2 minutes to upload a video.
Wow, that's fast. So let's move on to part 2. When you look at a marketing plan, which is something I create with my clients, a 7-step marketing plan, and we're going to have a mix of communication devices across the board, depending on the client, obviously, depending on the target, the ideal client, and depending on my client, what it is that they're dealing in. Where does video fit as a marketing tool?
It's I want to say it's number
in
1.
In practical terms.
Yeah.
Where's it going to show up?
It's the one marketing tool that gets a professional marketers actually rated as it's the biggest return on investment. So every dollar you put into video, you get the biggest return from anything.
How so?
So I encourage people, even if you're at a starting stage, have some video content, even if it's just self-produced stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then as your company grows, you want to get a little more elaborate with stuff. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, so that video would be on the website first, and then YouTube second, and then anywhere else like LinkedIn postings. Could you have it sort of automated that once it goes somewhere, it goes a whole bunch of places, much the way you would with a,
there's a couple different systems for that, where you can just distribute it out from one source. That said, I'm a big fan of being aware of each platform. So LinkedIn has got a different audience than YouTube, and Facebook acts differently than Twitter does. So each video should be adjusted specifically for the platform. Far too often, people treat video like it's a television show where it's just linear and you're watching 1 minute to the end. And that's not necessarily how you need to treat it. Twitter, in particular, you have to make something that doesn't require audio. LinkedIn, you want something that's going to speak to more executive mindset. So you have to be aware of your platform. It's not just a matter of distributing it. That said, it's very easy to make one video, and from there, make versions appropriate to each platform.
Okay, so you're, again, cost effective.
Yeah, you don't need to start from scratch for every single platform. I always advise people, pick the platform where 1, your audience is going to be, and 2, the one you're most comfortable using. Start there and focus on that. Don't try to do everything all at once, because you won't do it. It'll just distract. It'll distract from your job. I do appreciate video for most people is on top of their business. It's not what they do. So we want to make it as simple and as easy for them. And then once they get comfortable with it and they're one platform, then reach out to the next one and then slowly grow.
So maybe some of our viewers are thinking, well, I can see video for a product demonstration. For example, you have a product you're selling, you can show a beautiful, here's my product, here's a close-up of it, and you can have it from all angles and maybe have it actually at work. You might demonstrate how it works. But if you're selling a service like I am, which is as a coach, as a marketing coach, how is it useful as a marketing tool when you don't have a product, but you have a service?
Right. Well, your service, most service-based businesses are selling a person, right?
Okay.
Like my barber is a good example. I've been going to the same barber for 15 years.
Very good haircut, by the way.
uh, he,
Nice.
he's excellent. But what brings me back to him isn't just the haircut. He delivers quality at a good price, but I like him. So that's kind of where, if you're doing a service-based thing, you're selling yourself as much as you're selling what you do. And the hook is there that, well, video in particular, let people get to know you, and then you're going to attract people that like you or align with you. So you end up with clients and people that you're going to enjoy being around more. And that makes work a lot easier.
Well, that's along the know, like, trust continuum. So they say that when you go to a networking event, that's the know. And then there'll be a little bit of conversation. They might actually like you, and you might like them. And then the trust is built up over time. But actually, what I found we'll get to networking at the end of the podcast here, but what I find at networking events is I can actually get to trust in some, not superficial, but the beginnings of trust I can usually get to in a conversation when it's a one-on-one. And we start to share information that we don't share with everybody. And I don't mean secrets, etc. But you might start getting into a very sincere conversation, and you're moving in the direction of trust, which is where you want to be for someone to hire you for service, correct?
Absolutely. Again, it's the relationship economy. People say we're in a gig economy. It's a relationship economy. People like to work with people they like. And the trust factor obviously is massive, and that comes with time and familiarity. I mean, I've gotten jobs, not because I necessarily was the best film producer in Canada, but I was the guy that they like to work with.
You're not.
That's all subjective. But like the best jobs, I'm going to say 90% of the best jobs I've had in my life have come from people that I knew prior to the working relationship.
There you go. So let's make sure we get to this. What if I don't have enough money to hire a professional videographer and do all the editing and all that sort of stuff? And I'm just starting out, I want to try something. Could I actually make my own?
Absolutely. And
Can you give us a few tips on that? Like simple.
Yep. Okay. So I absolutely encourage it, especially there are a lot of people who are scared of video. They don't want to be on camera. And I understand that. I really do. I spent 15 years of my life behind the camera as an editor or a producer. And I've only in the last couple of years really started to put myself in front. And part of that was I should see what my clients are feeling.
So how does it feel? How does it feel now?
Well, it becomes quite comfortable, but I'm under no illusions. Like the first time I sat down to make a video, despite knowing exactly what I'm doing, I did about 15 takes. So sometimes this is one of those things. It's a skill you develop by doing. It doesn't have to be scary. You just have to sit down and do it. And in terms of doing it yourself, these days it's easier than ever. You either have a webcam, or most people have a cell phone. Like a smartphone will be professional quality content. I have shot professional stuff for clients, and some of the footage has been on a cell phone.
Right, you got to set it up on a stand or just tilt it up, make sure your face is showing, and away you go.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of quick tips. One, for the camera itself, set it up so that way you're looking at the lens like I am now, and it's about eye level. So the idea here is I'm talking to a camera, but in my head, I'm talking to the viewer. So I'm imagining there's an actual person. So if you look at it as you're looking at a lens, you're not getting any feedback like you do in a conversation. The lens isn't nodding or smiling or agreeing with you, or you're not seeing the person roll their eyes. So you kind of have to do that in your head, but look directly at the camera and kind of imagine it's somebody's eyes.
Well, I'm doing that right now. I'm looking right at the camera like this. So this would be the correct position.
Yeah. So the opposite, like if I were to do this where, if you're doing a Skype call or a Zoom call like we're doing, like right now, I'm looking at Bruce on my screen, but from the viewer's point of view, I'm looking off camera so if I look like this, so this does the connection. It's I'm talking to the person.
Right. One at a time.
Sorry?
And one at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're broadcasting, but for the viewer, it's just you two, the two of you.
Yep. So a couple other things. One, your background and your clothes, they should look, this depends on what industry you're in, but the way you're dressed and the background should look like a space that you'd be comfortable meeting a client in. Like I'm wearing a shirt that, this is what I would wear to a client meeting. My background is my office, and my shooting studio actually. But it's a place where I would have a client come in. I know not everybody has that, but if you have a dirty couch behind you with clothes strewn all over it, that's going to put a bad presentation. So just have something that looks professional. Bookcases are great. Bookcases I encourage in particular because there's a little bit of texture there and a little bit of color, but it's not distracting. So you want to have something going on in the background, but you don't want it more interesting than you on camera.
Now, one thing I noticed, Peter, that you look really dramatic against black. So should I paint this wall black?
No, don't do it.
Could I hang some black cloth or something? Like, I like the contrast between the color in your face and the very solid behind, where I've got this beige wall in my office. Is there an advantage in your background? Just have it clear and clean is the main thing. Is that it? Or
yeah, avoid blank walls as much as possible. I've had a couple of, I've seen a couple of Skype calls and like even news interviews where the person just was right up against a wall and there was nothing going on. And that kind of has an ominous feeling, like there's a monolith behind them. So again, you want some texture. For me, like I've got a camera, or I've got a light behind me and some flowers and a camera on this side. And that's just, it's a little bit of variation, but hopefully it's not distracting from me.
no, it's visual interest. And I'm noticing now for next time I do a call with you that I'm going to put maybe something in over my shoulder and, yeah. So this is all learning. Thank you for that tip. See, we all learned something here. Let's talk a bit about authentic networking. Tell us a bit about what you're doing there.
Okay. I hold a networking event in person. It's through meetup.com. So if you look up authentic networking downtown Toronto, so I run it obviously in downtown Toronto. And the reason I'm doing this one is because I've been to many networking events where you kind of walk in and you're thrown to the wolves. Like it's up to you to walk around, introduce yourselves. In that context, 90% of the time, you exchange a business card, have a conversation, and then leave. And that's the entirety of your relationship with somebody.
That's good.
And what I'm trying to do is the same thing I'm doing with video, is build a relationship, build that trust. So what we do is we have an event once a month where we get together and we do mingle and we do kind of wander around for the first little bit, but then we sit down in smaller groups of 5 or 6 for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And we have smaller conversations, and those are facilitated. So there's questions that you get to answer. You get to pick what you want to talk about. And it's not just selling your business. We actually very purposely don't talk about business for the first 20 minutes or so. So you get a feel for the people around the room. And I'm very extroverted. I got no problem getting up in front of people and talking. But I've been told by several introverts that they really enjoy this process because they don't feel any pressure and they don't feel the hassle of having to like instigate a conversation or introduce themselves constantly.
So in a word, it's structured.
Yes.
Structured. Yes. Okay. And you have 2 events a month. How is the second event? This is the larger event with groups of 6, very structured, getting to know people. And then you have one that's during the day that's more like
it's a roundtable mastermind. And the idea is
what does mastermind mean? I'm not sure what that means.
So that's where you get a group of professionals together. In this case, we try to get about 10 people, and we pick a topic and we talk about it. This month for January, the topic is going to be habits. So the idea there is the beginning of January, a lot of people set goals and New Year's resolutions. So I figured a good mastermind was habits. What habits have you developed over the month, or what habits should you be developing so you reach those goals, so you keep your New Year's resolutions? And the mastermind part of it is you've got a group of professionals who can share their experiences. So it's not me telling you what I do, it's the group sharing. And it's, everything from business coaches to video producers to, there's software developers. We got a web designer coming. So it's a wide variety of people from different backgrounds and professions. And then we're just sharing what tips and tricks. That way you don't have to make up everything yourself. You don't have to create every system yourself. You can learn from what's working or not working from others.
That's a great benefit, and you get to know people at the same time, who could
Absolutely.
be friends, colleagues, people you work with, collaborate with, and/or clients, possibly, or referral source. So, do you want to talk about maybe February's dates? We're going to be releasing this shortly. We're now in the middle of January. Do you
Yep.
want to talk about what's coming up, or do you want to put that on later?
I don't know. I would say February 11th is our next big meetup.
Hmm.
And we do it at the bar is called Mickey Finn's. It's Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, and the location is at Yonge and Carleton, Yonge and College area. So it's right by College subway station. If you know the TTC, it's like
Hmm.
2 minutes, 2 minute walk from there. And I encourage everybody. The best thing to do: go to meetup.com and
Yeah.
check out Authentic Networkers downtown Toronto, and then come to the event February the 11th.
And the second event in February.
Second one will be the 28th, the end of the month, and
Mhm.
that'll be the 9:30. It's a Friday, and it'll be 9:30 in the morning down at Staples at the Queen and University. For those of you who don't know, Staples has reinvented itself as very entrepreneurial friendly. So there's a co-op working space. So we're not going to be in the store itself. We'll be in a room that they've got down there.
Yeah, that's where you had the one I went to in December, I guess it was. And they've got a kitchen there. They actually have a cafe in Staples now with good coffee. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've never thought I'd be such a big fan of Staples, but fantastic company.
Well, they're adapting, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Really, they're keeping up with what the small business person needs.
I'm just noticing our time. I think we need to wrap up. So you've got those dates coming up in February. Go to meetup.com, type in Authentic Networkers Toronto, and you will find Peter. And I'll be there enjoying the networking. I hope you've learned a few things about video and how it might fit into your marketing plans. And if either of us can help you, please just pick up the phone or text or email. Carrier pigeon is fine. I'll leave the window open. But however you want to get in touch, both of us are totally open to questions and inquiries at all, and no obligation.
Yeah, us small business owners have got to stick together. So anything I can do to help, please reach out.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Bruce Harrott, and I'm a marketing coach. I help small business owners land more of the right clients. And over here,
I'm Peter Kelly, and I help businesses find new clients using video.
all right. Bye now.
Farewell.